Look at this.
So here we wanted to do a video to show you what happened to our garden after all the big freeze of the past week. And I know some of you had it a lot harder than we did in some areas, so you were in my thoughts and prayers during that time, because I know a lot of you lost electricity and had a lot of snowing in and whatnot. So definitely we may have gotten a heavy freeze here, but it was probably nothing compared to that. But as you can see, a lot of our more warm, loving plants did not make it. As you can see, there are bananas here. There were some of our citrus here too that did stay outside. Luckily, Kai's bigger collection of citrus were all in pots, so we kept that in the greenhouse. But some of the ones planted in the outdoor areas here did not make it. Over here, I'd had a couple of beds with some winter greens in it, so that there were some in here. As you can see, some things, like some of the Brussels sprouts, the kale, it might just pull through. I'm hoping it will. It looked a lot worse the other day, but it is starting to perk up a little bit now. And in that bed, right here, same thing. There was some lettuces. This is the radicchio, actually. This one looked the best. And a broccoli. The chard, I don't think it's going to make it. And the Ice Queen lettuce does, but I guess with a name like Ice Queen, one would expect that. Now this bed too, it did look like more stuff did a little bit better. I had covered these areas with some sheets. That's why I've got the tomato cages here, because I had put the sheets over. And then we laid bricks out to kind of close it up. Now, unfortunately, I think with some of these other beds, the sheets still, there were holes in certain areas where the wind blew underneath. So I do believe that that's why some of those things did a little worse. This one, though, was good because the sheet that I used was actually a mattress sheet, so it had elastic on it. So I was able to tuck it kind of under the wood. So that actually, I think, helped these do a lot better. So I'm glad we had that sheet to work with. And some other stuff that I'm glad did end up doing better throughout this was here. About a week before, I'd started planting a cover crop mix that had like some winter peas, wheatgrass. Yeah, gosh, I can't even remember the rest of the stuff in there, but it was a mixture of like cover crop mix that we like to plant to like feed our chickens and some of the other animals. And that seemed to do well. I do believe because I planted it near the edge of the bed there, and that definitely seems to help keep the heat in better. So as you can see, I've got a whole line of it growing there, and luckily I think that's going to make it and do just fine. Now, interestingly, another thing that ended up doing very well, which I can show you over here, the strawberries. They did perfectly fine throughout all of this. We did not cover them or do anything. I think they were just so low to the ground, and they do have a higher cold tolerance. I don't know which variety these are. Some were bought from like the nursery or some of the other garden stores, but a fair amount of them were also gotten from a neighbor. But yeah, definitely the strawberries, they did all right without any help this year. And as you can see over here, Okinawan spinach did not do too well. We had a Turk's cap hibiscus back there that did not do so well either. Interestingly, those are pineapples, but they do feel like they definitely got frostbitten there. They're a little bit soggy. And of course, I did have some basils over here, so naturally those have a lot higher temperatures, so that did not work. And these rocks here, this is was the stinging nettle. As you can see, that actually has become quite prolific, which it is supposed to be. That's why I decided to grow it in the sandbox so it didn't spread around too much in the yard. But that did all right, and I think since we covered it, that kept it out of some of the coldest of the weather. I'll leave him open now. And here was where I had my herb garden with the lavender and the rosemary. Those did all right. I had some basils that did not do well, and some of my basils I just chopped down the day before since I knew it was getting so cold. I knew they weren't going to last anyway, so I wanted to harvest off the leaves. So like my African blue basil, I had just chopped that one down to dry for herbs, and I do keep some to like feed the rabbits too. So we still have like our curly parsley in there, and the green onion still in there. And behind us, we've already cleaned up most of what was here. We'd had a roselle, a monarch rose mallow, and then that is the stump of the papaya. There were some canna lilies back here. A lot of the tropical stuff, but obviously that, as you can see, did not do well, which was disappointing because this is on the south side of the house. So that's why we had all of the stuff planted here, but that just didn't seem to help. I'm thinking it's mainly because of the wind. And more bananas here. I believe that was a sugar cane. That was a canna back there. But yeah, a lot of this just died off. And here's the greenhouse. That's where a lot of stuff ended up staying this whole time. As you can see, that they did all right in there. But of course, you, little cameraman, you guys had to definitely keep running some heat in here to keep it warm during that whole time because it did get a lot colder than it usually did. So we needed a little extra, but it did work because a lot of this stuff is still okay. And then if you look over here, this was, I don't remember, I don't know that we knew, this might have been an unidentified citrus. One of the ones Kai planted from seed, but that guy didn't do too well there either. That's our Seville orange. And it's a little bit crinkled on the edges there from the frost. And there's our blueberries. I did notice that area tended to stay a little bit warm because as you can see, it's still green. There still are some weeds and things back there, so I think because of the fence and the trees, there was kind of a pocket of warmer air on this side, and it was maybe more blocked from the wind, so that did okay. And obviously blueberries can take a little more chill and even need that. And then over here, I believe this was a cabbage, and I had some Brussels sprouts. It looks like these guys are going to be okay. I wasn't so sure the other day, but I can see some of them are perking up now. We have gardenia bushes. This was the elderberry, a rose bush. And a lot of it you can see definitely got some freeze damage. It melted now, but yeah, you guys had built like a whole little structure out of some of the ice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty thick. That was the thickest ice I've ever seen on anything we've had before. I mean, even when I had to, the chicken water buckets, we had to break some ice in there. That was at least an inch thick, even in the coop. And even with that, the animals, they did pretty well. I was pretty glad of how that ended up working out. And you guys tarped in like the coop to block out a lot of the wind. Some of the animals we did bring in, ones that we knew might be potentially more sensitive to the cold. The rest stayed out there because at least they had each other to cuddle with and keep warm. But they did really well. And you guys had definitely closed the coop in better to keep the wind all out and everything. So they did good. Yes, this is the one where there is a cracked panel on the bottom of here. Had a few things out here. Kai said a bottle had exploded and broken because it had gotten frozen with water in it. That happened because as things were defrosting, it just cracked. So yeah, there was a lot of ice. It didn't snow, but definitely was a lot of ice. And then over here was the other greenhouse. And again, had to put some other heat in there, but things stayed mostly good. There's all the citrus trees I was talking about before. Some things still, like you can see the dragon fruit there, he didn't look so good. But some things still took a bit of a toll. And the bananas, even though they were in here, as you can see, those ones do not look very good either, but yeah. Kind of disappointing anyway with all the stuff that ended up freezing and dying, but luckily taking a closer look today, I'm happy to see some things I think are going to pull through and make it. So I'm not going to have to start completely by scratch again. So we will see what happens as things go on, and hopefully it'll stay a little bit warmer so we can start replanting things again into some of these beds. So anyway, I think that concludes the tour of our after the snow apocalypse and what our garden looked like. We'll have to get started again soon. And since I know a lot of other people as well probably had some disappointing things happen in their garden after this storm, I wish everybody good luck at restarting on their garden again. And best of wishes to everyone in this hard time of gardening and homesteading.
Yeah.
Looks like a giant crystal. Look at that. How thick that is.